We just spent $500 on the best Speedcubes the market has to offer. If you're looking for a new main 2x2 or 3x3, chances are it will be in this video. For the 3x3s, we have the GTS3M, WRM 2019, WRM 2021 CH edition, TengYun V1 and V2, RS3M 2020 Plus, Valk Elite, Tornado V2 and Tornado V2 CH edition, and the Rubik's connected. For the 2x2s, we have the MGC and the MGC Elite, the WeiPo WRM, which will compare to the WRS, the Valk 2, and the X-Man Flare 2x2. We also spent $100 on lubes. Let's start with the 3x3s. So here we have the Weilong GTS3M. The cube was released in 2018 before the WRM series was made. Let's see how it compares. So inside this very nice magnetic box, you get the cube along with an accessories box containing a screwdriver, some more U-cards, a pamphlet, a tool to get even tensions on all the sides, and a dual adjustment tool. So you may be wondering, why are you still talking about a cube that's 4 years old at this point? And the truth is, this cube was so legendary that pro Speedcubers are still using it to this day. So let's start with the things that I like about this cube. I was very impressed with the performance of this cube out of the box, and it's still showing no signs of slowing down. So the magnets are somewhere in the middle between the GaN 11M Duo, which is too strong, and the RS3M 2020, which was actually too weak. Both forward and reverse corner cutting is effortless, which makes it perfect for people who like to spam TPS. What immediately stands out are the ridges on this cube. The ridges were added to the cube to improve grip, and it's definitely noticeable. Another thing to know about this cube are the shades. The shades on this cube are unlike any other cube I've seen. It features a half bright color scheme, which means the darker colors are dark and the lighter colors are light. The main issue with this cube, which can be easily fixed, is the sound it makes. The spring noise on this cube is a lot louder than usual, with cubes like the WRM 2021 having a nice buttery smooth feel. Fortunately, this problem can be fixed by adding a small amount of silicone lube on the springs. I personally prefer Traxxas 50K, although any other silicone lube would work. If you're on a tighter budget and aren't able to spend on lubes, the WRM 2021 Lite edition is the better choice for you at $23, although it's often on sale for lower than that, so be sure to check the link in the description. Okay, let's move on to the next cube in the Moyu line, the WRM 2019. Let's open it up. At first glance, the cube almost looks like the GTS3M except without ridges, but in fact we spotted a few differences between the WRM 2019 and the GTS3M. The corners on the WRM are more square, making it harder to corner twist, although corner twisting wasn't that common on the GTS3M anyway. Okay, I'll be honest with you, I did not like this cube out of the box. Ours came quite tight and sluggish out of the box, which made my solve time slightly slower compared to the GTS3M. Alright, let's talk about the CH WRM 2021. Made by Cubers Home, it features corner-to-core magnets. It also comes with the same stuff as the WRM Lite, except now we have this Cubers Home collector's card. The cube instantly feels softer and plushier than the original. The magnetic bump doesn't feel as strong as the snapping feel you get from typical magnetic cubes. It comes in at $37.99, which is $15 more than the original. Is it worth the extra $15? In my opinion, no. I would rather get the WRM 2021 Lite and save the extra $15 to put towards lubes, or as an alternative, getting a premium setup WRM 2021 for convenience. Now let's talk DaYan. DaYan are known to produce really quiet and soft feeling cubes. Mo went ahead and got the TengYun V1 and the TengYun V2, so let's compare them. So let's start with the TengYun V1. Compared to the Tornado V2, it's 0.5 mm larger, several grams heavier, and at the same price of $25.99. We'll come back to the Tornado V2 in a bit. The cube comes with almost nothing, just a few springs hidden in a tiny box, which we originally thought was just for decoration. This cube is definitely one of my favorites so far. The turning feels softer than any other flagship I've felt to this point, and it's also much quieter than modern Speedcubes. So far this cube has been the most pleasant to turn, and after a quick tightening of the tensions, the performance is superb. It's one of the only cubes I've felt so far that can go past line to line reverse effortlessly. However, the one problem which you'll see with other DaYan cubes is the controllability. You do have to adapt your turning style a bit for this cube. So if you're a bit more of an aggressive turner and like spamming TPS, this might not be the cube for you. Alright, let's move on to the TengYun version 2. Compared to the TengYun V1, the V2 is 6 grams heavier, 0.5 mm larger, and $7 more expensive. The cube comes with a dual adjustment system, where the inside controls the tension and the outside controls the compression, I think. Let's start with the things I like about this cube. Out of the box, this cube comes nice and fast. M slices are nice and smooth on this cube, and the cube is also very satisfying to turn. I've done over 50 solves on this cube, and so far it feels exactly the same as it did out of the box, which isn't the same as other cubes have felt, which tend to slow down out of the box. The second thing I like about this cube is the magnet strength. Despite the TengYun V2 coming with adjustable magnet settings, I personally don't see myself adjusting the magnets on this cube. The cube comes on setting 2 as default, which is the medium setting. If you think the magnets are too weak or too strong, you can always change them to your liking. Okay, now on to some downsides of this cube. The cube definitely feels on the heavier side. This makes it less desirable for events such as one-handed, which many people prefer the TengYun V1. However, for those that think the GaN 11 feels cheap because it's really light, you might like this heavier feel because it definitely feels like the cube has some substance. However, the cube is not the most user-friendly out there. The cube comes quite unstable out of the box, and when you go to open the center cap, you're greeted with a very scary looking tensioning system. So the numbers are quite hard to read, so you find yourself awkwardly pointing this cube into the light to try and read the numbers. If you don't really care about the complex bells and whistles this cube has to offer, you might prefer the simpler TengYun V1. However, if you want a fully customizable cube that's very user-friendly, this next cube might be for you.
The Tornado V2 is a 2021 mid-range speed cube that totally shocked the market for its mid-range price of $25.99. With its large variety of customizability and supposedly smooth turning, let's see how it compares to the modern day cubes. In the box comes a thick accessories box which contains a nice X-Man bag, an adjustment tool for the magnets, and some cube cards. Out of the box, I immediately noticed its really smooth turning, as well as its strong magnets to accompany it. The large amount of customizability comes in the form of a compression system, a magnet system, and a tension system, all of which count to 5. Initially, the customization system was a bit confusing, but with the help of the pamphlets and a couple of videos, it gets quite intuitive. I also noticed that the cube was extremely fast out of the box, a bit too fast. Also, the cube had subpar corner cutting, with it corner cutting forward around 35 to 40 and reverse being just below line to line. Overall, the cube was decent, and with lube, it improved quite a lot. However, you're going to need a lot of lube to slow it down initially, as it's way too quick. In order to lube this cube, I would recommend either a thick silicone lube to slow it down, or Compound 10 from thecubicle.com. This is a Tornado V2 CH and is a modification of the Tornado V2, which adds corner to core magnets. You might think that corner to core magnets won't add much, but it adds a ton of extra stability. The cost for this extra stability is $15 more than the Tornado V2 regular at $40.99. In the box comes the same stuff as a Tornado V2, except now we have this cool shiny CH card. Let's see how this cube compares with the regular. Immediately I noticed that the cube was slower and more controllable than the regular, with smooth turning, strong magnets, and good reverse and forward corner cutting. However, the cube is still a bit too fast. Again, in order to combat this, I would suggest a thick silicone lube to slow it down, or perhaps Compound 10 from the Cubicle.
Now let's talk about the legendary Valk Elite. This cube is ancient. It was released by Qiyi quite a few years ago, and what's really special about this cube is the adjustable magnets. And you may be thinking, we've seen adjustable magnets on a lot of other flagships in this video. However, none of them are adjustable by changing the center caps. It also has adjustable springs, but in order to change these, you have to physically swap out the springs, so removing the screws, swapping out the springs, and then putting it back together, which takes a long time. Newer cubes like the Tornado V2, you can switch these a lot quicker. Inside the box comes a cube, inside a box with 4 more boxes, lots of boxes. The other boxes are labeled A to D and contain the extra center caps and springs, as well as a ton of collector's cards, which, if you know me, I like collecting my cube cards. Out of the box, I was kind of disappointed. It felt quite a bit sluggish and tight, but after a bit of loosening up and a bit of DNM, this cube was nice. The cube has a clackier, harder feel, which is the complete opposite of cubes that we've seen from DaYan and Moyu, which have a very soft and buttery feel. We've seen people complain about the M slices of this cube. They do require a bit more force than usual, but after a bit of getting used to, they're not too bad. The Valk series has been discontinued, so if you do want to get this cube, you have to be fast because they will run out. Link to the cube in the description below. However, at $45.99, it's difficult for me to recommend this over the modern flagships like the Tornado V2 and the WRM Lite. We've just fixed the RS3M 2020. Let me explain. The RS3M 2020 has now become the most popular speed cube, coming in at $8.99. This is arguably the best value for money cube you can get. except it has one problem. The magnets on this cube are a little too weak. So let's fix it. To set this up, all you have to do is get an RS3M magnet kit from thecubicle.com, open up all the pieces, and then the magnets just snap right in. With the stronger magnets, the magnets do a very good job of keeping this cube stable. It does feel a bit blockier than before, but overall I think the performance is much improved. Given these magnet kits don't cost a lot of money to buy, I think they are a very worthy investment. Highly recommended.
The Rubik's Connected is an official Rubik Smart Cube from 2020, costing $59.99. Let's see how it compares to other smart cubes. The cube itself weighs 112 grams and is 57 millimeters, which is way bigger than most cubes. In terms of the good stuff, the app itself is very well made. It has very fun activities, unlike other smart cube apps, and is very unique in its own way. The cube also has surprisingly good forward and reverse corner cutting. However, the things I'm not very happy about is the cube is very scratchy. The cube is also very large, 1mm larger than the MG3i and the Ganai Carry. 1mm may sound like a very small difference in size, but for Speedcubers it's a big difference. The cube also feels very blocky and isn't smooth at all, unlike the MG3i and the Ganai Carry once lubed. Overall, I prefer the hardware of the GAN Smart Cubes. However, I prefer the software of the Rubik's Connected.
Alright, let's move on from the 3x3s and start talking about the 2x2s. This is the WeiPo WRM, a cube released by Moyu in 2019. They also released the newer WRS in 2021, which we'll use for comparison in this video. So the WRM comes in a simple package containing the cube, some generic accessories like pamphlets, screwdrivers, and collector's cards. If I had to sum this cube up in one word, that would be speedy. Moyu cubes are known to have exceptional speed and weaker magnets, and this cube is no exception. But there's one problem. Okay, so let me explain. 2x2s usually come in two measurements, 50mm or 51mm. Both the WRM and the WRS come in 50mm, which I personally don't like. And whilst you think 1mm might make a small difference, to Speedcubers it's actually a very noticeable difference. The WRM has a glossy plastic, but the WRS has a matte plastic. I personally prefer the glossy plastic because of its superior grip. If you don't mind the smaller 50mm size and you like a really fast cube out of the box, the WRM is probably the choice for you. However, if you want a cube with some customizability, you might want to get the WRS.
The Valk 2x2 is a well-known 2x2 for $19.99 that came out in 2018, with a lot of hype surrounding it. It was used by a lot of professionals and is still a lot of pros' mains. Let's see what all the hype is about. In the box comes a cool looking cube container, a thin accessories wallet that contains a cube wipe, some cube cards, and some spare springs as well as the cube itself. After a couple of solves, I noticed that it had decent corner cutting as well as a good controllable size. However, the cube feels very scratchy, very slow, and is very blocky and not smooth. Maybe I just got an over-lubed version, but if you have lubes, then this cube won't be a problem for you. Just note that the Valk series has been discontinued, which means that Qiyi aren't making these cubes in their factory anymore, so there's a very limited supply of these. If you want to buy one, links in the description below, and feel free to use code CRITICS in the item shop. And whilst you're there, be sure to use code CRITICS at thecubicle.com to get a huge discount. This is the Flare 2x2, a $15.99 2x2 that was a bit overshadowed when it was released in 2021. So let's see how it compares to the rest of the market. Not much comes in the box. A thin accessories wallet, a fancy cube container, and only some cube cards. The cube featured decent corner cutting as well as a range of customizability. This customizability came in the form of a magnet system, where you only had to adjust one corner to adjust the full cube. However, there are quite a lot of downsides. One thing that I immediately noticed was that the magnets were a bit too strong out of the box. The cube also had glossy plastic, which was extremely hard to grip, and it was very slow and blocky. Overall, I didn't particularly like it, but maybe aggressive turners would. Maybe with a bit of setup, this could be a very competitive cube. I would suggest a bit of DNM from the Cubicle, or maybe a bit of Mystic as well.
Let's move on to the MGC 2x2. This cube costs only $12 and is still legendary to this day. Allow me to explain. You know the RS3M 2020, right? The cube that's $20 cheaper in price than most flagships and boasts similar performance. Well, the MGC 2x2 was released in 2018 and hit the market by storm. We decided to get the MGC 2x2 and the MGC 2 Elite. Straight away you can tell this cube is old by the simpler packaging and entire bags of extra springs, which most people nowadays don't do spring swaps. The cube was a bit tight out of the box, which is why I was locking up quite a bit, and my solve times were quite a bit slower than what I'm used to. I also didn't like the shades on this cube very much. It has very unsaturated shades, which makes the green very pale, and to me it's not very appealing. I much prefer the shades on the MGC Elite, which we'll look into a bit. However, at this price point you can't really complain, and with a bit of setup and loosening of the cube, this cube can be very underrated. However, now that we have the MGC Elite, let's have a look at that one. So the MGC Elite was released in 2020. It also features a very innovative edge-to-corner magnet system, which you see in current 3x3s, where the corner attaches to the edge piece. So you might be looking at this cube thinking, where is the edge piece? So 2x2s actually have some internal pieces, and usually these internal pieces don't have any magnets in them. However, the MGC is unique because it's got its own unique magnet system. In the box comes a cube and an accessories box. Very simple stuff. Let's try the cube. So out of the box, this cube wasn't too bad. At 51mm, it was the size I personally prefer, and it's also 1mm larger than the MGC. The shades also look a lot better on this cube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button because we'll be trying out every premium DaYan 11M Pro. You do not want to miss out. So that's all the cubes we had to show. We also spent $100 on cube lubes, which we'll link over here, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.